Essex Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 7, and my thoughts on this episode. I think this is the most amazing episode of House of the Dragon I think I've ever seen. I mean, it was just fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, every character matters in this show. Like, every fucking character. Every scene matters. I know I say that every time in my reviews, but it really fucking does. And that is what makes this show so fucking great. Nothing is wasted. We're not just put into some waiting room with some boring ass side character quest or side scene. No, every scene matters, every character matters, every decision matters, and that is great. I also love the designs of the sets, and I love the fucking dragons, because again, I hated in Game of Thrones that all three dragons looked the same. Like, all identical except for their colours scheme. But I just love in House of Dragon we see different dragons, different designs, and seeing Vhagar was amazing, man. I mean, I know we saw him last week, but in this episode we kind of see more of her. We kind of see her, you know, how big she is, and we see, you know, how she's skin's impacted by war and stuff like that. But yeah, great design work on the dragon. I loved it. And, you know, seeing Rhaenyra, you know, and Daemon, how their story progresses was fantastic. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but I wanted to see how the show was going to go there. Was it going to be the same as the books, or was it going to be different? And, you know, I love what they did with them too. And Alicent, again, Alicent is a great character. And she's coming out more and more as a tough fucking bitch. And that's what I fucking love about her. Like, she's not this, you know, damsel in distress. And she's a tough son of a bitch. She will defend her family. And I fucking love the fact they finally, well, they're not finally, but they're bringing more of that out in her character. And I love that. But this episode was not about the adults. This episode was the kids. It was all the kids. Aemond, Jacaerys, what's the other kid? Lucius. The kids take the fucking episode. And it's fantastic to see them develop more as characters. Aemond, I mean, if you've read the books, you know how much of a badass he is. But in this show, seeing where he's come from to see where he is now. And it's only been 2 fucking episodes. And it feels like he's had an entire character arc. And that is just amazing to me. 2 episodes, and you're seeing so much of his character come out in just this episode on its own. And I fucking love that, because again, I know what this character is like. I know what he's going to do. And it's great to finally see this. And again, I just can't fucking believe how well this show is doing with the writing. It's amazing. Because, again, I watch a lot of bad shows. I mean, I watched fucking Star Trek, and I also watched Rings of Power last Friday. So I've seen bad writing, terrible writing. And this show just does not have it, because it's just focused on telling you the story. Like, it's not trying to shove something down your throat. No politics, no bullshit, no nothing. And that's what I respect about it. And that's why this show is just the best. It's something you can turn your mind off to and just enjoy. I mean, you're going to have to turn your mind off for some things, like which side you're on. And I'm just going to say it right now. I'm on the green side, personally. I'm not on the black. I don't like Rhaenyra, because I know what she's going to do. I know what she's going to do. She is a bitch. But yeah, I'm on the green side, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I mean, this show is just amazing. And the kids take the episode, they take the show, and it's just so great to see that every character is important. There's nobody left behind. There's no side characters. There's no wasting our time. And you don't really get that a lot in TV shows. You kind of do get a waste of time moments, which is just annoying to me. Use every minute you have to tell a great story. Don't waste our time with side quests. But let's get on with my score. So I'm going to give this, it's a 10. It's a fucking 10. I mean, yes, does it start off slow? I mean, yes, because it's a funeral. and I don't really give a shit about that. Everything else in this episode was just fantastic. It's fun. It's great to watch. So it's a 10 out of 10 from me. And yeah, I can't wait for next week's episode because I saw the trailer. You start to see Alicent and Otto, try to take more control. And that's what I want to see. And I cannot wait. I'm actually getting more and more excited for this show. And it is just insane to me. Because I was really worried about this show. I was really worried. And it turns out you don't need to be worried about this show because it's just going to be amazing. Not saying they can't fuck up in the future, but so far they've showed me enough to say that this show is amazing. That this show could become the greatest TV series ever. So I'm just happy about that. So let's go into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with us at Driftwood at the funeral of Laena Velaryon. And everybody's there. The king's there with his family, and Rhaenyra's there with her family, and everybody's mourning the death of Rhaenyra. And in this scene, you start to see the sides being taken, and after they bury Laena in the sea with her uncle, speaking a prayer over her coffin. You've seen this scene, like Daemon's there, and when the Corlys Velaryon's brother says to keep our blood pure, Daemon just in front of everybody starts laughing at that statement, and that's just such a funny scene to me because it's just like, yes, because everybody fucking knows about the parentage of one fucking family. It's insane to say that. And I know it's a funeral, but come on. And it's just so weird to see that everybody's just continuing with this lie of like Rhaenyra's kids or Laenor's kids, and it's just. It is funny, and I understand why they do it. I understand, it's a culture. What the king says is true, but it is just such a weakness of Rhaenyra. Her kids are blatantly not Laenor's kids, and she has no defense except her dad pretty much telling people you can't say that. But again, I like the scene with Daemon laughing because again, it is just stupid to say. So after they bury Laena, we then go to the next scene, which is everybody at a party, not a party, but at the morning. Well, scratch that. Everybody's just gathered around, drinking and speaking to one another. You see Rhaenyra pop into this onto this tower, getting a drink and starting to try to find her kids to make sure that they're okay, and she needs to tell them to start helping Daemon's children get over the fact that their mother's died. But Jacaerys, he's not exactly happy about having to come to the funeral because he's still mourning the loss of his friend, or actually his father, who died in the previous episode. And Rhaenyra has kind of got to tell him to forget about that because he can never come out with that, saying that he's his father, because that would put him in massive danger. That would put her in a massive danger. And it was just good to see Rhaenyra try to calm him down. Just say, listen, go talk to your cousins and make sure they're all right. He then goes over to his cousins and does that. And you start to see that he might be forming a relationship with one of the girls. I think her name's Rhaena. And so there's going to be something in the future with them too. I think that's from the books. And yeah, it was kind of good to see. But also at his party, you see Corlys Velaryon trying to also talk to his grandchildren, or at least grandchild, and tells Lucerys he's going to be master of Driftwood one day. He's going to be the king of the seas, unlike his brother who's going to be king of Westeros. And you can kind of see that he's talking to a child, and he's kind of still doesn't really like to talk about death. And if he is the Lord of Driftwood, everybody's going to be dead. He doesn't want that. And I think there's a great scene between Corlys and Lucerys. But also in this gathering, you see the king, Viserys. He wants to try to fix his relationship with his brother, Daemon. But Daemon doesn't give a shit. He's kind of still... I don't think he's mourning as such, but I just don't think he can bury what's between him and his brother. Because, you know, he feels still betrayed by King Viserys. And he doesn't really want to hear about it right now. But Viserys is dying, and he's still trying to keep his family together. And you got to respect him for that, because that's the only thing that's kept the two families apart. That's not, you know, had them killing each other already. It's just Viserys calming them down and trying to, you know, bridge the gaps, trying to get everybody to get along. And you can see he's a good man, but Viserys being this good man is the main reason his family is going to eventually get destroyed. So I like Viserys as a character, but overall he is the dumbest motherfucker, I think, in Game of Thrones. Because you can obviously see all the problems that are going to erupt from Rhaenyra fucking somebody else and having somebody else's kids and disrespecting her vows. This is all going to blow up and destroy his family. And all Viserys needed to do was just tell Rhaenyra, you're not the fucking next queen of Westeros. You're out. And that probably would have saved his family. But he loves his daughter, so it's a weakness of his. Then we see Corlys Velaryon. He's looking for his son. He sees his son is in the water, and he then goes to Laenor's boyfriend. Well, not his boyfriend, but he doesn't call him his boyfriend. And tells him to go get Laenor out of the fucking sea and tell him to come up to the group and stop embarrassing Corlys. So he does, and you start to see that he's becoming more and more disappointed in his son. You know, I don't think it's just that. I kind of think Corlys Velaryon is kind of seeing that more and more problems are starting to come out of this marriage between his son and Rhaenyra, and he can't fix it all, and it's becoming obvious that Rhaenyra's kids are not his his son's kids, and he's just trying to get the throne. I mean, he's worked so hard to get there, and I love in the next scene where Corlys and Rhaenys have an argument about, you know, the situation, because Rhaenys is pissed at Daemon for stopping her daughter coming back to Driftwood to have her child. She wishes she'd come because their maces are better than ones in Pentos. And Corlys just tries to calm her down by saying, listen, you can't really stop something that was going to happen anyway. You know, the gods decide she was going to die, and you can't stop fate. But when Rhaenys says you have to get rid of Rhaenyra's children, I mean, at least take them off of the rights to Driftwood, and those rights need to go to Daemon's children, as they are true blood Valyrians and not Rhaenyra's children. But Corlys Velaryon doesn't want to do that because that would put more of a cloud over their parentage if he disowns his son. And again, he doesn't want to put at risk one of his grandchildren becoming the king of Westeros, because that's what he cares about. And when Rhaenys says to him, we both know these children are not of our blood, stop lying to yourself. And you can just see in the scene that Corlys like, I know they're not my fucking grandchildren. I know they share no blood with me. But that's not what people remember. They don't remember blood, they remember titles. And that's the whole point of why Corlys is putting his head in the sand and just doesn't want to care about the situation, doesn't want to care about his son. He just wants to put his name on the throne, because that's all he cares about. Because he tries to pretend that he wants to fight for his wife's right to be on that throne, but Rhaenys knows that he doesn't give a shit about her being on the throne. This is more about the fact he was close to the throne, his family name was close to the throne, and it never got there, and that's what he's more pissed about. So I loved in this scene, she finally called him out for his bollocks, basically. The next scene is Daemon and Rhaenyra talking to each other, and Rhaenyra wants to tell Daemon that she loves him, and that they should be together, but Daemon doesn't want to hear that. He's kind of given up on that part of his life. He doesn't want to be with Rhaenyra. He just wants to focus on going back to Pentos and being some sort of lord there. But Rhaenyra tries to remind him that he's needed here, that he left her, that she and him were meant to be together. But Daemon doesn't really want to hear about this. But Rhaenyra makes a move and kisses Daemon, and Daemon pretty much reciprocates, and they both have sex. So this is pretty much Rhaenyra getting what she actually wants, which is Daemon, and finally trying to, bridge her house to his house finally, and to, reunite the dragon under her and him. The next scene is Aemond walking to see Vhagar. Now, Aemond doesn't have a dragon, so what he does in this scene is he tries to do what he learnt from the dragon masters at the dragon pit, and he tries to bond with Vhagar. And when he first approaches Vhagar, Vhagar pretty much pushes him away. Then when he tries again, Vhagar opens his mouth to blow fire at Aemond, but Aemond manages to take control of Vhagar, and he becomes bonded to him, and he takes his first flight with Vhagar. And it was an amazing scene, because we'd never really seen a dragon and rider coupling before. Now, I know it's not called coupling, but you know what I mean. We've never seen this kind of thing before, because Daenerys, she was pretty much bonded to her dragons as soon as they hatched. So this was a great scene to see Aemond taking control of the most powerful dragon in the Seven Kingdoms. And yeah, it was an amazing scene. The flying scene was great. I love the CGI of the dragon. And yeah, it was just an amazing scene. So when Aemond lands and he's now bonded with Vhagar, he walks through a tunnel where he pretty much bumps into Rhaena, Jacaerys, pretty much all the kids from the other side, and they challenge him and say, "What were you doing with Vhagar?" And Aemond says, "I've coupled with the dragon, so he is now my dragon." And when Rhaenyra, I think, tries to attack him, well, she was attacking him, Aemond pushes her down, then Bella, I think her name is, punches him in the face. He falls down, and he gets up and punches her back in the face. Then Jacaerys gets involved, has a fight with Aemond. I love the fight, by the way. I mean, yes, these are kids fighting, but they're kids that have been taught how to fight by, King's Guard or the Gold Cloaks for the strong kids. But yeah, I just love the fight scene in this. It seemed like these kids knew what they were doing, and when you see Jacaerys pull out a knife because Aemond has a rock, that was a great scene. And in this scene, we also see Aemond take shots at Jacaerys, calling him a bastard and calling him Lord Strong. And you can pretty much see that, you know, this pretty much cuts deep with Jacaerys, and I gotta give it to Aemon because he holds his own in this fight, because he's getting attacked by 4 kids, and he manages to hit them all down. I mean, all the credit to him. And when you know where he's going, what he's going to turn into, it's just so good to see him as a kid was this tough as well. It was great. But by the end of the fight, Jacaerys grabs a knife after Aemon disarms Jacaerys, and Jacaerys grabs a knife and then cuts Aemon's eye, and he's left on the ground bleeding. The King's Guard then stop the fight, and they have to take Aemon to see a maester to see if the eye can be saved. We're then in the hall of Driftmark, where King Viserys wants to know what happened, who started the fight, you know, because you start to see the sides being taken, greens against blacks, and you see Alicent is absolutely pissed off at this, because she's just, again, her son's lost an eye, and Viserys doesn't really want to talk about the eye being lost. He just wants to know why the fight happened. And when Rhaenyra arrives in the room, she goes to the defense of her children, says this was not their fault. They were insulted by Aemon after he lied and called them bastards. But when Alicent pretty much says, was he actually lying, and the fact that you're saying that her son needs to lose an eye for an insult, I mean, it's just insane. I mean, Alicent was right to do that, because, again, calling them bastards is not as bad as cutting someone's eye out. But Viserys won't hear any of it. He just wants to get this over and done with, and he wants to know who told Aemon about the bastard, you know, the claims about them being bastards. Aemon looks at Alicent for a little bit, and then he says it was Aegon. And Aegon, when he's confronted by Viserys, which this is a great scene. This entire scene was fantastic. But Aemon pretty much shuts the king down by pretty much saying, "Just look at the kids. They're obviously not Targaryen. Well, they're obviously not fully pure-blooded Targaryens. It's obvious that they are bastards." And you could just see in Viserys' face, like, he knows they're not true full-blooded Valyrians, but he can't bring himself to call his daughter out. So the king pretty much tells everybody in the room, you're not allowed to talk about this. Nobody questions the parentage of Rhaenyra's children, and that's it. But Alicent, and this is the best part of the scene as well, Alicent has none of this. She demands an eye for an eye. She demands that one of Rhaenyra's kids loses an eye for Aemon's loss of eye. And when she calls on Sir Christian to, you know, take the eye out of one of the kids, he kind of can't do it because that's not his job. So Alicent, in a fit of rage, just grabs Viserys' knife and runs at Rhaenyra and the kids. And when Rhaenyra stops her and tries to grab the knife, they get into a little fight with each other, where another part of this scene I loved was the fact Otto and Daemon, and again, I forgot about Otto. Otto's hand of the king, but in this scene you just see Otto and Daemon just stay quiet. They don't really get involved in the fight. They kind of just stay at the sides. And I think what they're doing is just trying to gauge everybody. I think they're just trying to figure out who's the threat, who's the non-threat, and it was just great to see, because when the fight between Alicent and Rhaenyra happens, Sir Christian tries to get involved and protect Alicent, and Daemon gets involved to stop him from interfering. Now, the fight between Rhaenyra and Alicent doesn't really go that much. It's kind of just them two arguing with each other, and Alicent pretty much saying, I did my duty to my family, I did my duty to my king, to my country, I did everything right. How is it you can do everything wrong, Rhaenyra, and still get away with it? Because she is getting away with it. Like, she has cheated on her husband. She has flouted her, responsibilities, and she keeps getting away with it. And Alicent has done everything right. She stayed loyal. She has done her duty, and she hasn't got that much back for it, except the fear that one day Rhaenyra will be queen and may see her family as a threat to her crown, and she's just had enough. And the fact that Rhaenyra seems to think that her family can get away with seriously harming one of Alicent's children, that is just what pretty much pisses her off. And so Rhaenyra says, "You've made a mistake. Now the world sees you for what you are, a crazy bitch," basically. And then Alicent stabs Rhaenyra in the arm and then drops the knife, and then the king pretty much just tells everybody to calm the fuck down and just to leave this alone. It's over, everything's sorted out, and let's just be a family again. But there is no family here. It's just two sides of a very bad war that's going to happen. Oh, I also put the scene. Aemon tells his mother that he was okay with losing the eye because he gained a dragon. And not just any dragon, the most powerful dragon in Westeros. So that's what really calms down Alicent. Because he is right. Losing an eye was 1,000 times more worth... Well, it's worth losing the eye to gain a dragon. So it calms down Alicent. So the next scene, Alicent gets a visit from Otto. And she thinks Otto's there to tell her that she was wrong for what she did. That she should have, not stabbed Rhaenyra. But Otto's not there to tell her what she did was wrong. Otto's pretty much there to say he's happy what she did. She has finally shown she's ready to play the Game of Thrones. That she has the power, that she has the stamina, that she can do what needs to be done in the Game of Thrones. Which is pretty much kill Rhaenyra and kill her family, basically. So that's what he's proud about. And he then says that Aemond, gaining Viserys, Vhagar, is the biggest plus that they have right now. They have the most powerful dragon on their side. They have the most troops on their side. They're ready for war, basically. Well, they're nearly ready for war with Rhaenyra. They just need to somehow convince the king to let that happen, but if you read the book, that's not going to happen, but that's in the future. Next scene is Rhaenyra getting stitches on the wound she got from Alicent, and then Laenor comes and tries to apologise for not being there for Rhaenyra and her children, his children, and he promises that he will change and finally be a husband to Rhaenyra and finally step up and teach his children how to be princes of Westeros. And Rhaenyra pretty much agrees to it. And the next scene we go to is everybody leaves Driftwood on their dragons, on the ship. Viserys and Alicent are still kind of not exactly good with each other, but Viserys is always going to forgive Alicent for what she did. And Alicent's just making sure she's in a safe place still. And she is. So everybody leaves Driftwood. And then we get the scene between Rhaenyra and Daemon. And Rhaenyra tells Daemon that they need to pretty much get married. And that they are always meant to be together. They should have been together at the start. And now they need to marry so that she can have a partner to fight the Greens. And Daemon says this cannot happen unless Laenor is out of the picture or dead. So Daemon creates a plan to get rid of Laenor, which is kill a maid or a servant, and have Laenor's boyfriend try to kill Laenor, but this was all a trick. Because Daemon kills a maid who looks like Laenor, pretty much puts him in the same clothes as Laenor, and it was all an act between Laenor and his boyfriend with the sword fight. They throw the maid's body in, this is not what happens on screen, but basically Daemon throws the body of the maid or the servant into the fire so they can't ID Laenor, but everybody thinks it's Laenor because it's his clothes. And the last scene is pretty much Laenor running to a boat with his boyfriend to start their new life together. But Laenor, the name is dead, and Laenor now gets to start a life for himself somewhere else. And Daemon and Rhaenyra get married under the faith of the Targaryens, and so they are now married, and that's how the episode ends. And I think it's a great episode. It was great to see Alicent, fighting back against Rhaenyra. It's great to see Rhaenyra and Daemon together because that was always going to happen. So it's great to see that finally happen. Again, it's just such a great episode to watch and to enjoy. And oh my god, every scene is just great. And it's perfectly written in some points. And yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 from me. I can't wait for next week's episode. This is just the best thing on TV right now. And yeah, fucking amazing. And that's the end of my review. If you don't want to hear, if you like my videos, give it a like. If you dislike my video, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment Soldier. Bye.